Some people rock and some people roll. Some will make you giggle right down to your soul. So talk to the world and introduce them to you. And look at me now, I'm all Barbara and you. You gotta take a step inside the shoes of another. Get to know your neighbor, get to know one another. So talk to the world and introduce them to you. And look at me now, I'm on Barbara and you.
Good evening and welcome to the Barbara and You Show and the Workers Credit Union virtual studios and the FATV virtual studios. And I'm so happy you could join us tonight. And I am really, really excited about tonight's show. And I'm honored to be interviewing the retiring chief of the Fitchburg Fire Department after 44 years of service and 25 years as chief. And I said chef and said chief. Chief Kevin Roy is here with me. Welcome, Kevin. It's so nice to see you.
Hello, Barbara. Thanks. It's very nice to be here.
And is it okay if I call you Kevin?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I hear some of the guys call you Chiefy, but I think Kevin sounds better.
Yeah, that's Kevin's fine. Chiefy kind of got to be a family tradition here, and it got carried on to some friends and whatnot. So it always gets a laugh. But call me anything. I'm good with it.
And Kevin, I've been aware of the job that you're doing and your service to Fitchburg, to this area. And yet in prepping for this interview, I read over your resume and I was blown away. And I think, like many of our viewers, we don't realize what your job has entailed over the years. But I would, if you don't mind, I'd like to just start off by reading the mission statement that the fire department has, and which it's at the top of your resume. Okay?
Very good. Sounds good.
The mission of the Fitchburg Fire Department is protecting people, property, and the environment by providing essential emergency and non-emergency services, given professionally with pride and dedication. Well, that says a lot, Kevin, and from all I hear, that's what you have been giving to the city for many, many years now.
Yeah, we worked on that mission statement a few years back. We had a different one that was rather lengthy, and we really put some thought into it and try to express exactly what our firefighters do day in and day out for the people of Fitchburg and the surrounding communities. And I appreciate that, Barbara.
The other thing I don't think people realize is how much you have to know. And in my industry, in many industries, people take continuing ed courses that we are required. And folks, I could spend the whole hour reading you his resume. There's so much on it. But it's not just putting out fires and starting years ago and working your way up the ladder, if you'll pardon the pun, but within the organization. But I mean, along the way, you've acquired a few other titles, and you're an EMT, among many other things.
Yeah, that's correct. We started the EMT service back in the 70s with the state in Fitchburg. We were running the ambulance at the time. And I think it was around 1974, we all had to become certified as EMTs to get on the ambulance and run a professional ambulance service. And we did that and ran a really good service for a number of years. But yeah, the job has taken on a lot more titles now. We need hazmat certifications. We've got tech rescue teams today. So over the years, the job has changed tremendously. And the jobs we do, we're not just firefighters anymore. There's a multitude of situations that we have to know, from building construction to gas situations like we saw in Lawrence a year or two ago. Our people really deal with a lot of different situations day in and day out in the city.
In my 44 years of doing this TV show, hey, that's the same as how many years you've been with the department, right? 44 years.
It is.
But I have learned that more people tend to end up in their careers more by accident than by design. But I have a feeling you were that little boy who always wanted to grow up and be a firefighter, right or wrong?
Well, yeah, you're right, Barbara. Actually, it's kind of a funny story. My dad was a firefighter for 40 years here in Fitchburg. My uncle was a firefighter in Fitchburg, and then later became a state fire marshal, state police detective lieutenant, arson investigator. And then my brother got on the job. My older brother Jim got on in 1972. He was really always the guy that was really into fire. I actually enrolled in Mount Wachusett and started in the law enforcement program when I got out of high school in 1973. And I started there in the fall of 73 for that program. And the fire exam was coming up. And basically my brother and my dad said, what are you thinking? You know, this is a fire department family. You need to follow in the tradition. And so after the first semester, I stopped going for the law enforcement. I started studying for the fire exam. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Well, in reading your resume, I did see that you stayed close to home. You're a graduate of Fitchburg High School, and I saw that you went to the Mount, where you did specialize in, I've got that in my notes somewhere, fire sciences. Was that what it was called, fire science?
Yeah, the fire science program was something else that started in the 70s for firefighters, and basically at the same time for police officers and law enforcement. So it was a little difficult on that because you were working shifts at the fire station, and we went to school at night up at Mount Wachusett, and you know, there was no online learning back then. You actually had to attend the classes. So it was a lot on the guys' families and stuff, that we were already gone a couple nights a week from our families and then go spend a couple more nights going to school at the Mount. But it was important to us, and a lot of guys continue today to get their associates and sometimes their bachelor's degree in fire science.
So back to my wondering if you were that little boy that wanted to grow up to be a fireman, it's kind of a 50-50 choice. You were certainly influenced by your family.
I was, but also there was different things that happened in the course of my early life that kind of got me thinking of that direction. One of them was the fire that Captain Jim Beliveau was killed at up in Clegon. I was only 12 years old at the time, and my mother and dad, we owned a variety store on the south side in Fitchburg, and we went to the fire that night because my dad went to work, and I was there that night, and it made an impression on me, that the work that firefighters do at that time. And then seeing my dad work day in and day out, and visiting him at the fire station and working for the firefighters of the city and the state, it didn't take much pushing to get me to go to the fire side and take on the profession of firefighter.
Well, I think that was a very brave decision, and it could have gone either way. When you saw a tragedy, you could have said, well, that's not for me, but you just saw it as, I want to get in there and help out.
Yeah, I think we've kind of seen that for some reason in our profession. When Jim Beliveau was killed that night, two of his sons both became deputy chiefs in the department, Jim and Brian Beliveau. And when we lost John Citrino on March 4th, 1977 down on Water Street, both his sons are now Boston firefighters. So, you know, it's kind of strange to think that you see this tragedy, but you're kind of drawn to it, and you want to make things better and want to not see those things happen in the future. So that it is important to us.
Yeah, I'm an imposter or an import into Massachusetts. I came to New England in the early 70s, but I do remember that tragedy in 77. I remember
Yep.
that. So you've not regretted the decision, obviously.
No, obviously not. You know, my brother passed on from job-related cancer 8 years ago, and his two boys are now on the job. My son's on the job. Obviously, through the years, we have lots and lots of close friends that have been firefighters with us. We tend to grow up and do sports together outside the job, and then our kids become friends. So we still have a lot of our kids that are friends with other firefighters' kids, and obviously we're still friends with a number of firefighters through the years.
Well, I've observed over the years that in North Central Massachusetts, there are a lot of businesses that are in second and third, and some even fourth generation family businesses. But I never thought about it in terms of the fire department, and that's quite a rich history of service.
Yeah, we've got a lot of family relations. We always have in the department, and I think that's pretty standard with a lot of fire departments. You know, both sons and daughters get involved in the profession, see their fathers doing it or their family members, and decide that it's a noble profession and something that you can really come to work every day and literally help people and do something that changes someone's life, or in some cases saves someone's life.
And as we said, you don't regret your decision. Now, recently, you've had to make another big decision, and maybe you made the decision a while ago, and we're just at that time now. Before we went on the air, you were saying, hey, I work for the city. Do you still work for the city, or are you officially retired now?
No, I'm still working for the city. The city is in the process of naming my successor, so it'll be within the next few weeks. That transition will happen, and we hope it'll be a smooth transition, and things will go along well. We certainly have a number of very qualified candidates. We have a very good system in our department of bringing people up through the ranks, and we've got a lot of qualified people. So the answer is yeah, that within the next few weeks, you'll see the new boss take over, and the old one will pack it up.
But the decision to retire is a tough decision for a lot of people. Very hard for me, and I don't know that I ever will. But how long ago did you say, yeah, that I will be retiring?
Well, honestly, fire and police are mandated to retire in the state at age of 65. So you have to retire by the last date of the month of your 65th birthday. In my case, I had a couple accomplishments that I wanted to gain come this June. One was our memorial, and one was to become fire chief, be a chief for 25 years. And there was a few other minor things. So I had asked for an extension. The mayor and the city council was good enough to let me get that extension for 5 months. And we then had to go to the state legislature and approve that, and the governor had to sign off. So June 30th was actually the date, but the pandemic has now hit, obviously. I've been involved with the mayor's COVID-19 task force. It kind of slowed the process of selecting the new chief just because there was so many other things going on with the powers to be in the city. So that's probably going to extend it by a couple of weeks. But not much. The governor has actually made an emergency proclamation that those kind of retirements can be held off during the emergency, which makes sense. You know, this is not a great time to change people, but by the same token, it needs to get done and we need to move on. So within the next few weeks, that's going to happen.
Well, most of our recent shows, we've talked a lot about the pandemic and how it's affected people in their businesses. And I'm sure there's many ways and reasons you could talk about, but there's so much to talk about with you and your career. And I have to make a confession, your nephew, Nate, and I, we were very tempted to make this a roast, but we decided to be kind to you. And then we also decided, people always said really nice things. They didn't want to roast you either. So we do have a video coming up, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, but there's a few people on here you'll be happy to hear from. And Nate, if you're ready in the control room, we'll go to that first video.
Hi, Chief. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for everything you've done for me personally. You've increased my workload. Thank you. But my longevity here in the department, my love for the department, it's really something I didn't want to leave. I know it's going to be very hard for you to leave, but look at your career. Look at what you've done, where you've taken this department, what you've done for all of us. There is no better firefighter than you. I've learned so much. We've all learned so much from you, and the leadership you portray on the fire ground, in the fire station, is second to none. You will be missed. You will not be forgotten. You've left your legacy here with the department, with us, and our personal relationship that goes back 40 some odd years. Chief, thank you very much. Have a great retirement. Good luck.
Hey, Chief. Nate, I'm sure you can see that. Just want to say good luck on your retirement, and thank you for the opportunity to work here with you and your wonderful department, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Hey Chief, it's been an honor and a pleasure working with you. Happy retirement and enjoy yourself.
Chief Roy, you have led an incredibly distinguished career spanning decades leading the Fitchburg Fire Department. You have dedicated your career to the preservation of life, property, and public safety throughout the city of Fitchburg. I very sincerely, on behalf of the Fitchburg City Council, congratulate you on a career well led, and thank you for your years of distinguished service to our city.
Hi, I'm Phil Jordan, Fire Prevention Office. Chief Roy, he's the son of a Fitchburg firefighter, brother of a Fitchburg firefighter, dad of a Fitchburg firefighter, and uncle to Fitchburg firefighters. After so many incidents over so many decades, all I can state are a few trigger words where each word might bear a much larger story for the chief to share. Tody Industries, Great American Chemical, the night of the 3 arson fires, the Woolen Mills, Dan Shan's, Hope Rubber, the Crescent Building, the Johnsonia, River Street Strip Mall, July 4th General Alarm Brush Fire, the West Street Fires, the Walton Street Rescue, the Clarendon Street where Chief actually caught a child, B.F. Brown, the wood pellet dust explosion, the Bartley Nolan, and actually COVID. This is not a goodbye to Chief Roy. He will always be Chief Roy. This is clearly a time for thanks. Thanks for your service, commitment and ability as Chief to keep us trained, united, and safe during your many years as Chief of the department. Through good luck, good training, and your oversight, you never lost a firefighter to a structure fire. One major trigger word, demobilize. Take a break, Chief. You've clearly earned it. Thank you.
Very impressive, and obviously you've earned a lot of respect over the years. What things that were mentioned would you like to follow up on? I do remember the Dan Chin fire and the Johnsonia, but I don't remember hearing about one where you actually caught a child.
Yeah, first, Barbara, I'd just like to say that those folks there, mostly on my day staff that works for us, minus my administrative assistant, Rachel King, who's an excellent employee and my right hand. I want to thank all those folks for those kind words, and Council President Kushmarek. Yeah, Nate asked me that the other day, what's the biggest fire that I remember? We've had so many. We did have an incident on May 28th, 1992. I was the deputy chief, and we had a building heavily involved in fire with people trapped on Clarendon Street. We were down to one ladder truck that day due to budget cuts, and we had a young lady and a child out the 4th floor window in the back of the building. And I went around to the back. We couldn't get the ladder in time. They were in serious peril, both the teenager and the 3-year-old. She dropped the baby to me from the 4th floor window. Luckily, the baby caught the baby, and the baby survived. She later hung from the 4th floor window and also dropped from that area onto the pavement. Thankfully, they both survived the incident, and it was rather a harrowing event, and certainly something that I don't forget. But the best part was that everybody survived the incident and made it out safely, safely alive.
And I'm sure there were many, many instances that you cannot forget, some more tragic than others. That was a great thing that they were saved. And you started out at the bottom of the rank and worked your way up to chief, and 25 years is quite a long time to be in that position. I didn't know about the forced retirement thing, but you've seen a lot of changes over the years. And being the chief, you have so much you're responsible for, budgeting and buying equipment and all kinds of different decision making. How does that compare to the days when you were on the front lines putting out fires and saving people?
Yeah, obviously, Barbara, things have changed greatly since 1975. Probably the greatest thing is the number of firefighters we have. When I came on the job, we had 118 firefighters on the force. We have 81 today. We had a lot more antiquated fire equipment. Our ladder trucks didn't have roofs on them. The fire trucks, you stood on a little 18-inch step on the back of the truck and hung on to a horizontal pole that was across the back of the truck, out in the weather, out in the cold. And the equipment that we had obviously has changed greatly for safety of the firefighters. But I think the thing that changed me personally was in 1977 with the Citrino fire. We were all close friends. We were close department. We were all young guys. It was the 70s. We played softball together. We played hockey against other fire departments. On Sundays, we played basketball up at Applewild. And, life was good. Everything was, you were a firefighter. You were looked up to by everybody in the community. And on the night of March 4th, we actually gotten word that we had passed our EMT exam that night. And Jack Mulcahy and myself went down to Water Street Station to get John Citrino, Bozo we called him, to call and see if he had gotten his mark and come out with us and celebrate. He called home. His wife said, "No, your mark didn't come today. It'll be tomorrow." It was a Thursday night. So Bozo says, I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow night. We'll go out. I'll get my mark tomorrow. And we'll go out and have a good time and celebrate passing our emergency medical technician course. Well, needless to say, tomorrow never came for Bozo. My wife woke me up at 2 a.m, said the scanner's going nuts. We went down to the fire and assisted with rescues and getting the people that were out, including my brother who was seriously injured. So I think at that point, it kind of changed my look on the department and the job, that we needed to do things better. We needed to do things more safely. And my goal, is the goal of a number of other firefighters in the department, was to take the promotional exams, get promoted, and make the job safer for everybody. And I think in a lot of areas we've accomplished that. I think somebody mentioned in the video, we haven't lost any firefighters in the last 25 years that I've been chief, and even before that, since '77. We haven't had anybody seriously injured. But as time went on in the fire service across the country, you saw these large lost deaths, Charleston, South Carolina. You saw it in Worcester with the Worcester 6. And each time those things happened, improvements were made to safety, whether it be thermal imaging cameras or accountability or new equipment, new air tanks, SCBAs. All those things made the job safer for firefighters. However, as we've seen, just recently in a number of cities in New England, we still lose firefighters during fires. And that's the tough part. And although we've reduced those numbers, it's still a number one priority of myself and our department, is to try and make our people as safe as possible. But at the same time, the number of people that we've saved over the course of my career is in the dozens and dozens and dozens that we've directly saved, and the hundreds more that we've indirectly saved with our actions of responding to fires and hazardous materials incidents.
And at the same time, keeping your department and your firemen safe at the same time.
It is, and we've seen new things now. Fires burn differently. That's another major change since the 70s. It was all natural products back then, wool and wood and things like that. Now it's plastics and polycarbons that they burn hotter. They give off more toxic gases. They develop faster. So rooms go to flashover much faster than they used to, and the toxins that we're encountering in these fires are much more dangerous for our firefighters.
Now, think back to when you started in your early years, how has a typical day for a firefighter changed? Is it really the way we see on TV? They live at the firehouse, they cook for each other, they slide down the pole, go put out a fire, come back to the firehouse. What's it like for a typical fireman today?
Yeah, a lot of what you see is true. A lot of it is fiction also. Our department's changed in that when I came on the job, we didn't have as much training and inspections and the things that we do today, maintaining of our gear. Our fire apparatus certainly wasn't as modern and as up to date. A ladder truck today costs $1.2 million worth of equipment. An engine company is about $600,000. So the equipment is much more modern, much safer. But we've seen in today's firefighters, we have a rigid training schedule that goes on every day at the department, Monday through Friday. So you're either training morning and afternoon, or you're doing inspections, or you're maintaining your equipment, or you're sitting in the classroom learning new EMS techniques. And then on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, you're maintaining your buildings and your trucks. So our people, they take care, we don't have janitors, we don't have people that take care of our apparatus other than one mechanic. Our people are responsible for all actions of the department. So I think one of the bigger changes, we're more structured, and we have more situations where our people are professionally trained every day of the week. Training's an everyday thing. And
you're right. Those are things the general public doesn't realize. They may just think you're sitting on the bench in front of the firehouse.
Those days are kind of, we always talk about that, the old, back in years ago, the ping pong table, the pool table, those are gone. And there's the days are full of, and our responses are up. When I came on, we'd go to 3,000 emergency response a year. We're up to 10 or 12,000. And that's just calls that people call us for help.
That's with the smaller department as far as manpower than it used to be.
Yeah, that affects it. We had more people and less calls, and now we've got much more calls and fewer people. So we rely on mutual aid a lot more. The departments around us have mostly become full-time departments when they were used to be what they call call firefighters. Most all of the towns around us now have full-time firefighters around the clock. So we're able to call for them, and by the same token, we're able to go to assist them on calls.
Right. Now, as you know, very well know, your nephew's our director here today, and I understand Nate has come into your home and taken some, made a slideshow actually of some of your valued memorabilia. So we're going to show that slideshow, and as each picture is on the screen, Kevin, feel free to jump in and tell us what you'd like us to know about that or what memories that evokes. And I want to get to this early so we can get most of it in. So we're ready if you are, Nate, with that slideshow.
Yeah, so Nate's starting off with a clock, and that clock does mean something to me. I was given to me by my mom and dad the day after I became chief of the department in 1995. This was a local photographer that did a lot of fire pictures a few years back. And he was around. We let him come on the fire ground and take pictures. He lived in Fitchburg. And then next thing I know, in the mail comes this picture that it was kind of a collage type photo with inserting my picture. And there's actually a couple of other pictures, I think at least one other of Fitchburg trucks in there. I'm not sure. I can't see right now exactly where it is, but it was given to us. It was given to me by a local photographer that did that kind of work.
Very nice.
This was a day of a change in the fire service. This is digging it down in Worcester at the Worcester Cold Storage Warehouse for the remains of 6 Worcester firefighters back in 1999, December. This was probably December 4th or 5th, 1999. And Fitchburg crews went down, assisted in digging and also covering their fire stations while that went on. This is myself and firefighter Bob Sanborn. This is the Hope Rubber fire. Where Riverside Park is now, Riverfront Park. It was a rather large vacant warehouse fire. So it's just.
I was going to ask you who was that young kid on the right.
I know. That was before all the budget cuts. That was. This is actually the fire of Hope Rubber. We actually did a pretty good job. This fire was started by homeless people in the basement, and it was obviously after the Worcester fire. We wanted to make sure we didn't lose any of our people. By the same token, the Putnam Street Bridge was there, and we didn't want that damaged by heat, which could happen. It's rather an old structure made out of granite blocks. So the guys did a good job containing this fire, keeping it away from the bridge and making sure no one was seriously injured. We had a lot of mutual aid on that call. It was rather a large fire. This is another one of the fires that Phil Jordan talked about. This is the Crescent Apartments. Again, it was a big vacant building at the corner of Blossom and Crescent. As you can see, we put a lot of water on it. It was once again started by homeless people, vacant. I think it was a 7 or 8 story apartment building that had sat vacant for years, and very congested neighborhood with a lot of 3-deckers nearby. And again, the fire had a good head start on us when we got there because no one was living there. No one really noticed it. And our people did a great job getting a lot of water on that fire and keeping it contained to the building. You can hardly see the building because we're putting so much water on it. This is Great American Chemical. Over the years, we went to Great American Chemical for many fires. It was one of the biggest chemical factories in the city. It was a very dangerous fire situation down there. The Arden Mills are now down there on that site between Beamish Road and Water Street. And it was actually the Arden Mills was the original company that worked there, was occupied that making plastics. And then Great American Chemical took over. This was the final fire. We had a lot of explosions and different things when they were making chemicals there at Great American. It was one of our hot spots that we trained at a lot. But again, it went vacant. Again, a homeless fire was started on the top floor. So it was kind of an impressive fire. But again, we put a lot of water on it. Mainly the top floor burnt off the building, and eventually the building was demoed and the new condo units have been put in on that site. This is a fire up on Clarendon Street. Typical fires we see a lot in the city. I think that's why I've got it posted up. It's just one of these 3-deckers on one of our congested streets. You can see the house to the left, the house to the right. These fires are very challenging for our people, not only to try and make sure we make a search of the building, get everybody out, try and contain the fire to the original building, but protect the occupied structures nearby so people don't lose their homes. And that's a big issue in the city with the hills, the congested neighborhoods and the multifamily houses that sometimes are 4, 5, 6 level houses. So this wasn't that many years ago. It was on the Clarendon Street near the St. Joe's church. This is a picture that actually was given to me by my neighbor, Bucky Cunningham, who worked for the Fitchburg Housing Authority. And this is actually a fire back in, I don't know when, but it's the site of the fire station today. It's where Central Fire Station is today. And it was at that was at the corner of, I think that you can see the building in the background. I'm not sure if it's North and Main or if it's Willow and Main. I think it's Willow and Main. And obviously, I wasn't around for this one, but it was obviously a very cold day and a lot of fire damage to the building where part of the building collapsed, but a very old building. This is my first, I think my first or second year 4th of July parade, probably as chief. A good friend of mine, Jack Mulcahy, here in the front. We lost Jack a couple of years ago to occupational cancer. He was still on the job. Pat Haverty next to me there, and some of our other firefighters in the background. So that's a picture that was given to me after I believe it was my first or second 4th of July parade as chief. This is a picture, Scott Brown. This is a good one too. Scott Brown was over getting Dunkin' Donuts one day a few years back when he was senator. And this was a truck that we had got on a federal grant, Ladder 3. And he happened to walk over and ask Jack Martin. He says, "Hey, you didn't happen to get that truck with a grant, did you, from the federal government?" And Jack says, "Yeah, we did." He goes, "Geez, I'd like to take a picture with you guys." So we rounded up some of the guys, and that's the bucket of Ladder 3's aerial ladder. And he jumped in the picture, and it was kind of just a spur of the moment thing, and it worked out pretty good because he had voted for the money to get us the truck, and he happened to be here, and we snapped a quick photo.
And he happened to have been on my program at one point, and we're very fond of him.
Really? Yeah, he was a very personable guy. Yep.
Oh, is that Emil Gogan I see there?
That's Emil and Senator Flanagan and retired Leominster Chief Fred LeBlanc. We went down to the State House to try and procure a couple of fire trucks to protect the airport. We were going to try to get one for the state to buy it for Engine 1 down at Summer Street, and Leominster was going to try and get one for their Engine 3 down in North Leominster. So we took Senator Flanagan and Representative Gogan took us down. I told Nate there's a pretty funny story about this one too. We went down for the day to do some lobbying, which was unsuccessful, by the way. we went into the after we left the house, we went to the Senate chambers, and we were in there, and Senator Flanagan went to her seat, and we saw that the Senate president say something to one of the pages, and we thought, oh, geez, they're going to recognize us, and they come over and asked us to leave because we didn't have suit coats on. So we had to step outside the chambers. It was kind of funny at the time. We laughed about it. And, yeah, it was one of those days.
You have a million stories, don't you?
Yeah, this is. I'm not sure which time this was with Representative Di Natale and Senator Flanagan. Yeah, I'm not sure. This must have been one of the Firefighter of the Year awards. Our firefighters have won. Yeah, just to go back to the other one for a minute. Our firefighters have won a lot of awards at the state level. It was a program that started back in, I think, 2003 or 4, I think they started it. And a lot of our firefighters have been nominated for awards down there. And it's very prestigious. It's very competitive. It's state awards that are done either at Faneuil Hall or at Mechanics Hall in Worcester. So this was obviously one at the State House where we were with Representative Di Natale and Senator Flanagan down there. So those were always great events, and our people have, I think the number's up to like 60 of our firefighters that have won some type of award at the state's Firefighter of the Year awards.
Very impressive.
Yeah, this was meeting Senator Kennedy at the GE plant when we were converting from GE to the city. Mary Whitney was mayor. The city had taken over that building, which currently occupies the municipal offices and some other private companies. And Senator Kennedy came and got a chance to speak to him about some federal programs and a few things. So that was kind of exciting. He had a large contingency with him, and that was pretty cool. This is one of our Firefighter of the Year awards. I'm not sure which fire this was, but this is Mayor Wong, Representative Di Natale. This was down at Faneuil Hall. I'm trying to look at the shift. think this was group one. Yeah, Deputy Belleville. This was some rescues the guys made at a garden apartment fire up in Clegon. They made multiple rescues. Deputy Belleville was in charge of that fire, and just a tremendous job. A lot of rescues made that night. It was in the middle of the night. People were trapped. And not only did we contain the fire quickly, but we made a number of rescues over ladders and through the building. So our whole shift was recognized on that one. This is when we all, and my son Andy and my nephew Sean had just gotten on. We took a picture of a Memorial Sunday. It should have been around 2010 probably. That's obviously my nephew PJ in the middle, and myself, my brother Jim, my nephew Sean, and my son Andy. Quick photo that we had after that service. This was, as you can imagine, we're very close with Leominster. You know, everybody thinks Leominster and Fitchburg has a rivalry. That's only on one day a year, and that's Thanksgiving Day. Very close with all chiefs and firefighters down there. This was a retirement party down in Leominster that we went down to attend. We knew some of the Leominster guys. So Chief Sidlow jumped in with our day staff, Rick Charlie Moore, Scott Peralta, and Phil Jordan, our fire prevention people. And we all work really close together, both our fire prevention people, our line people, and we have a close relationship with the firefighters in Leominster, always have. This is down at Gillette Stadium. Phil Jordan became he was a ranking officer. I don't know if it was the chairman of the Mass Arson Investigators or Fire Prevention, one or the other. So we had a nice ceremony down at Gillette Stadium. This was only a couple of years ago. So we went down for that and got the tour of the Gillette and go through the tour of underneath the building and the facility and everything. That's Dave Monty, who is a Westminster firefighter, but he also does our radio work for us. And again, Phil and Scott and Rick. This was the, I mentioned earlier, this is when we dedicated, we changed 5th Street to John T. Citrino Memorial Drive in the name of Bozo. It was kind of important to us because Bozo lived right in that lot right behind us. He grew up there at the corner of 5th and Water. He then worked at the Water Street Fire Station directly across the street. That was his neighborhood. He lived there for basically forever until he was married. And the night of March 4th, he responded out of Water Street Station on Engine 5 to respond to the fire that took his life. So we renamed 5th Street is now John Citrino Drive from Water Street all the way to Harvard. And this is a picture of John's 2 sons. It's my brother Jim on the left, Phil Citrino, who's now a lieutenant in Boston, my nephew Page, myself, and Johnny Citrino. Johnny's a firefighter. I think he's on Rescue 1 down in Boston. So those guys are Boston firefighters. They have been for a while. This was, I don't know, this is a fire up in West Fitchburg, I think. It just so happened it caught all 4 of us together. We usually aren't all 4 at a fire together. So I forget, one of the photographers says, hey, how about I grab a picture of you guys? Not very often you're all at a fire together. So we're usually not in favor of those kind of photos at a fire, but in that case, we made an exception and grabbed a quick photo of myself, my son, and my 2 nephews. These are all my grandkids and extended grandkids. Nephews, my brother John's kids, and I think that's everybody. Yeah, they're all in line from left. That's Logan, and Logan's not too happy right there, and Abigail, and Ryan, and no, Ryan's the next one. That's Ryan is the lower one, and then my grandson Alex, and that must be Emmett. My grandson Gavin's holding Emmett. My other grandson, Cathal, is holding Aria, and that's my granddaughter, May, and my great nephew, Jimmy Roy. So there's one other, one of my other nephews has a daughter, Sophia. She wasn't there that day, but that's basically the crew.
I'm impressed with your memory. Oh, is that the Water Street Station?
No, that's 28 Oliver Street. That's headquarters.
Okay.
That we moved from there. We moved over to the 33 North Street location. This is I told Nate this was a little bit interesting story here. This is a steamer that belonged to Townsend Fire Department that was in a barn down in Townsend. And in 1964, for the city bicentennial, the firefighters decided they were going to pull the steamer from Townsend, bring it up here, completely refurb it, get it working, and put it in the bicentennial parade. So this is the Summer Street Station that's at Summer and Lunenburg Street. The building's still there. And that's me on the left. This is the gentleman. I think this gentleman owned the steamer. And my dad was involved heavily with a bunch of the Fitchburg firefighters. They actually took it apart, rebuilt it, and refinished every part of it and got it working. It actually pumped water a few days before the bicentennial parade. So we had this picture in the archive. Someone came across it and framed it for me, and we threw it up downstairs. But it's interesting that we had that picture taken at that time. And I think that steamer is still in Townsend. I think they put it back into storage, and it's still there. But Dillon Boiler Works and a lot of the local companies helped them get that thing refurbed and get it running, because it was really something to see once it got fired up, and they used wood to stoke it up and were able to pump water. Maybe it was coal. It might have been coal. I'm not sure. But it was pretty neat. It was pretty good. And they pulled it through houses. Yep. Yeah, it's one of my original crews. We had a lot of crews that stayed together back in the day. We became friends. That's Bill Burke, who was my driver for about 14 years. Rich Liberatore. We were all crew members for a long time. We had other guys that stayed on our crew, Bob Haley. We kind of grew up on Group 3 together. That's when Engine 3 was brand new. That was a 1978 Mac. So that was shortly after 1978, or maybe it was 1978. And I think I was a lieutenant at the time. But we had a close crew. We had a good crew. Working with guys that you like working with, and knowing you got each other's backs, always important. This was the transition back in the 70s and 80s. There was a lot of crazy firefighting gear came out. They told us to start wearing plastic helmets, and the coats were red and yellow and all these other things that were ideas that came out. So a few of us decided we were going to go back to the old leather helmets, and they weigh about 900 pounds, but they're really good. And they're the original traditional fire helmets. And this is the first crew that went and bought them. It's Greg Normandin, who's now a deputy chief on the left. Bob Haley is a retired deputy. Bill Burke, retired. Jim Marabello to my right, and Phil Jordan Sr., who's also retired, but he's our department historian. So that was the significance of that, was the first leather helmet club in Fitchburg, I guess. These are a couple of the boxes, and obviously the bricks from 28 Oliver Street when they tore it down. The box on the left is a standard fire alarm box that were on a lot of our buildings in the city. Those have been replaced now. We don't have those as much. They're not as necessary. The systems in the buildings trigger the alarm to us, whether it's be smoke detectors, heat detectors, or sprinklers. And with the advent of cell phones, there's never a loss of phone calls for fires. The box on the right was interesting. We had a little booth. We called it the booth at headquarters that the watchman sat in at 28 Oliver. And this was the buttons to push and change the traffic lights. This is before traffic lights could be changed remotely with, the transmitting unit in the truck receiving. So that was the main and Putnam Street light. You push that to change the light green when we were going out. Putnam and Broad, and then Laurel and Kimball, you push the button. And the guys in the booth job was to acknowledge that we got the call and to push the lights so we had the green light going out of the station.
Hey, Kevin, our hour is flying by here, so be quick on these last few, because we got a lot more we want to get in.
Okay, that's just the drawing of our new station, painting. Yeah, again, a panoramic view that we have that Rick Jollymore made of the headquarters. Rick's done a lot of great photographs for us. He maintains our Facebook page. Just an unusual shot. It goes and shows the whole building in a panoramic shot. I think we already saw that one.
Yeah.
This is a picture of my brother Jim and a good friend of mine, Rich Hawthorne, who's now retired. This was what we used to have firefighter balls every year at different locations. Obviously, we were having a good time.
Yep. There, I think we've got through all of them, but like I say, there's so much we want to cover. But boy, am I impressed with your memory. You were very brave giving out names and things. And I want to make sure we get everything in. And so next we're going to, I believe, play the video from the memorial ceremony that happened a couple Sundays ago. So if Nate's ready in the control room, we'll just let that roll so we don't run out of time.
Mayor Di Natale, elected officials, family and friends of our past and present firefighters. And this morning, I'd especially like to recognize Lieutenant Eddie Suarez, who made it up here with us today. Eddie, it's great to see you. Good morning and welcome to our 69th annual Memorial Sunday here at our newly remodeled Firefighters Monument, a day we set aside each year to pause and remember our firefighters that have gone before us and to honor their dedication to this great profession. As PJ reads the roll of departed firefighters today, we will recall stories about each of them, the heroic work of our members, saving lives and property dating back to the 1800s. Will never be forgotten, and as long as we gather here each year to honor them. Thanks to the support of Mayor DiNatale and the City Council, our department has had another successful year in many areas. As most of you know, our 2 new pumpers to replace Engine 2 and Engine 4 were placed in service last September. These pumpers were immediately used at many major fires within a few days of being commissioned. They have responded to 23 major fires in the past 7 months. I thank the committee that did a great job on this, and they worked diligently on this project. Thank you, guys. As you can see, our new incident command car has also arrived and is in service. A committee of Deputy Chiefs Marama and Normandin, along with Captain Roy, did a nice job designing this vehicle. A third project this year, with the help of a $260,000 FEMA grant, we were able to outfit all our firefighters in new personal protective gear. This enables all our firefighters to have 2 sets of firefighting gear for their protection during fires or other hazardous incidents. I want to mention the great work by all our firefighters and EMS personnel who have come to work every day without hesitation to care for and serve the people of Fitchburg. They have gone above and beyond during this very dangerous pandemic. I could not be prouder of the members of this department. Great selfless work by all. Thank you. There is one other person I want to thank, and that's my wife, Brenda. For the last many years, she's helped me prepare these remarks for this service because we always thought it was very important of what was said here today. There were many years with budget cuts and other issues. She had to calm me down, say, you can't say that up there on Sunday. But we got through it, and she kept me on focus to what we were really here for. Bren, thank you very much. For most all of my 65 years, I have spent the second Sunday in June here at this monument. But most importantly, for the past 25 years, I've had the distinct pleasure of addressing all our families, friends, and co-workers of the firefighters we honor here today. Along the way, we have made some additions to today's service, such as awarding fire service citations, introducing retired firefighters in attendance, and bringing you up to date with the latest happenings in the department. But today, we dedicate our new, long-awaited memorial monuments, engraved with the names of 260 departed firefighters. This project is a great tribute and permanent recognition to all that have served this great city. The committee that made this possible did a fantastic job. But we could not have accomplished this without the over $30,000 in donations from businesses, citizens, firefighters, retirees, families, and friends. Thank you for helping make this great project possible. In closing, it has been an honor and a privilege to be part of this important day of remembrance each year. I salute our current firefighters, our retired firefighters, and the firefighters we honor here today. May the long history of traditions and professionalism in this department never end. Thank you, and God bless the FFD.
That was very, very impressive, and you are a very smart man recognizing Brendan. I wish we had more time to talk about what she's gone through with all these years with you.
A lot.
We do have one more piece of video, a few more people that want to say a few words to you, and then we'll come back and wrap it up. So we'll go right to that next video.
Hi, Kevin. My sincerest wishes as you begin a new chapter in your life known as retirement. Your legacy will live on for generations at the Fitchburg Fire Department. I value the friendship and the partnerships we have formed during my time as chief. Your mentorship has been greatly appreciated and is reflective in our public safety response. I hope your retirement is fulfilled with laughter and good health and uninterrupted time with your grandchildren. Congratulations, my friend. Job well done.
Hi, Chief. Just want to say good luck in the future. Been friends for many, many years. Remember when I went to Group 3 in 1990, and you were the deputy. Had a lot of fires together. Then you made chief. Missed you on Group 3. But then once I got in the day shifts, we're back together again. But you've been more than a fire chief, you've been my friend. One story sticks to mind. My daughter had been injured, and we brought her home from the hospital, and the hospital called and said, we think you should bring her back. So my other daughter was sleeping at the time, called your house, you and your wife came down and watched Katie while we brought Alyssa back to the hospital, and that meant a lot. You were always there for me and the guys on and off the job. So I wish you much luck in your retirement, much deserved. I hope to join you in retirement shortly, but good luck and stay in touch.
Chief, it's impossible for me to quickly sum up all the things I want to say, but I'll do my best to keep this brief. The most important thing I need to say is thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to work beside you these last 10 years. Your dedication and devotion to both the citizens of Fitchburg and the department is commendable, and I know that will continue long after your retirement. Thank you for being a strong, yet always fair leader. You've kept me on my toes while continuously reminding me that work can actually be fun. Thank you for your friendship. I know this too will continue long after your retirement, but I'm grateful for it every day. I wish you all the best in your retirement, but as the song that you've been singing to me for months goes, I'm going to miss you when you're gone.
Hi, Chief. How you doing? Just want to thank you for all you've done for the city, the department, and for me personally. It's been a great career for both of us. It was a pleasure working under you in all the ranks, and I learned a lot from your experience and how you conducted yourself, as a private, lieutenant, captain, deputy, and chief. And I was fortunate enough to work with you for the whole time you were chief. I think we got a lot of things accomplished. You were a very good, a great leader, and it was a pleasure. And I just wanted to wish you the best in your retirement. You've done so much for the city, this department, and it means a lot to me to say thank you for what you've done and wish you the best in your retirement. And if there's anything I can do for you in the future, please don't hesitate to call. Thank you. Enjoy your retirement, and I hope it's just a fun retirement for you. Thank you.
Hello, Chief Roy. I'm honored to personally congratulate you on your retirement as the City of Fitchburg's fire chief after more than 45 years of public service. As mayor, I have enjoyed working with you and have always considered you a valuable asset to the city. You have reached your goals, and your hard work and diligence have greatly benefited the city of Fitchburg. I can only hope that the remaining fire department employees will strive to follow your stellar example. Your command of the fire department budget and so many important public safety matters has been instrumental in producing the best fire department in the region. Rest assured, your many years of outstanding service have not gone unnoticed. Your many contributions in your daily operation of the department will be sorely missed. Please know that the city of Fitchburg will be forever grateful for your leadership. Retirement will surely offer you many new opportunities, which I know you will embrace wholeheartedly, just as you did being Fitchburg's fire chief. So while I'm saddened to see you go, I'm confident that you will find the same success and happiness in retirement. I want to thank you for your service and wish you all the best as you move forward to this next chapter in your life. Congratulations, Kevin.
Wow, this has been one of the most emotional shows I ever did. I'm sitting here tearing up, but you certainly must feel honored and know that you're appreciated by this city of Fitchburg. And back in the days when you were taking the fire science courses and when you were at the academy, did you ever dream that this is the kind of fulfilling career you would end up with?
No, I really didn't. You know, you didn't. I never, wasn't one of my goals to say, oh, someday I'm going to be the fire chief. Matter of fact, it's kind of a funny story. When Mal Lilly was the chief and he told me he was leaving and he'd like me to take over, I told my father about it. And my dad says, you're crazy. You shouldn't be taking over yet. You're too young. There's too many issues in the department. Wait a few years. He said, you take it over now, you're not going to last 5 years. So I said, okay, Dad, thanks. But he said it in a good way. My dad and I had a real great relationship, and he taught me a lot. But I guess, Barbara, one of the things, first of all, it's a great city to work in. I wouldn't want to have worked in any other city. And I guess I had the good fortune of coming to work every morning, getting up and not saying, geez, I don't want to go there. Every day I got up, I was happy to go there. We got great people that work in our department, always have. We went through a lot of tragic times with loss of firefighters' children's, budget cuts, different things that happened within the department. But I was always have the people around me, the support staff, the deputies, the union officers, they were great people to work with. And I think we really moved the department forward. But there's only one reason for that to happen, and that's for everybody working together. And that's what we sought to do.
Well, I think the best way I could wrap this up is to say you did your ancestors proud. I'm sure the whole family is very, very proud of you. And I just can't thank you enough for sharing this wonderful event with me on my little show. And I too wish you every success and God's blessing in your retirement. And thank you so much. And of course, I thank my audience for watching. And I hope all of you enjoyed it as much as I did. I've got a great job too. I just love meeting people like this and having the chance to ask them a few questions. So again, our hats are off to Captain Chief Roy, and we wish you continued success in whatever retirement holds for you. Thanks for watching. Please join me again next Tuesday evening. This is Barbara Foster saying good night and God bless you.